Lewis Hamilton helped build Mercedes' dominance. Now he's watching it destroy Ferrari. The FIA just banned 2 hidden Mercedes tricks. This could flip the entire 2026 championship before Miami. One loophole gave them illegal qualifying power. The other was hidden inside the engine itself. These are not assumptions. These are regulatory changes issued after technical analysis and formal team queries. The shift comes at a moment when competitive balance is defined by margins measured in tenths and hundredths of a second. Lewis Hamilton spent 11 years winning titles with the Mercedes-AMG Petronas Formula One team power unit. He is now driving for Ferrari, positioned behind the same engineering structure he helped refine. The same party mode concepts he used are now being applied against him. Ferrari has demonstrated competitive race pace metrics, including tire management and launch performance, but remains behind in qualifying sessions. The discrepancy is measurable through lap time gaps consistently exceeding 0.5 seconds in Q3 conditions. The anomaly first became visible during the Japanese Grand Prix. Cars were observed crawling through high-speed sections. Multiple vehicles experienced sudden shutdowns mid-track. Drivers including Max Verstappen and George Russell were directly affected. The initial assumption across teams was new engine problems associated with the 2026 hybrid architecture. However, Ferrari engineers identified a repeatable pattern in telemetry data linked to energy deployment behavior at the end of qualifying laps. The first loophole involves the MGU-K system. The regulation requires the MGU-K to reduce power gradually as battery charge depletes. This is a safety rule designed to prevent sudden power loss. Mercedes exploited an emergency clause allowing immediate shutdown in the event of a technical fault. The system was triggered intentionally. The result was sustained 350 kilowatts output until the finish line, with no gradual reduction. The advantage is quantified between plus 50 to 100 kilowatts in the final sector, translating to approximately 0.1 seconds per lap. The reason this worked is structural. The penalty for triggering emergency shutdown is a 60-second lockout, but this applies to race conditions, not qualifying. During qualifying, the cool-down lap eliminates any performance consequence. This created a scenario where a safety mechanism became a performance tool. The consequence was visible instability during practice sessions, including complete system lockouts and cars stopping on track. Ferrari formally questioned the legality of this behavior. The FIA responded on April 14 with a technical directive. Intentional shutdown usage was explicitly banned. Monitoring protocols were introduced to track repeated triggers near timing lines. Any abnormal pattern is now flagged immediately. This represents the first regulatory closure of a performance loophole in the 2026 season. The second loophole is embedded within engine construction. The compression ratio regulation is verified at room temperature. Mercedes utilized materials with specific thermal expansion properties. At operating temperature, these materials expand, increasing the actual compression ratio from 16:1 to approximately 18:1. Higher compression improves combustion efficiency, resulting in an estimated 10 to 15 horsepower gain, with lap time benefits reaching 0.3 to 0.4 seconds. The FIA addressed this by introducing dual-condition testing. Compression ratios will now be verified both at ambient conditions and at 130 degrees Celsius, effective June 1. However, the competitive advantage has already influenced the opening phase of the season. Mercedes secured 3 consecutive race wins under the previous interpretation of the rule. Beyond these loopholes, Mercedes maintains a structural advantage in energy management software. This system optimizes deployment and harvesting cycles in real time. George Russell recorded a top speed of 327 km per hour in Melbourne qualifying. The data indicates the presence of a modern equivalent to party mode, activated during Q2 and Q3 sessions. The resulting qualifying gap has reached approximately 0.7 seconds, a margin that significantly impacts race positioning. The broader issue extends beyond individual teams. The 2026 regulations have introduced systemic instability. Cars are losing power mid-straight due to aggressive energy harvesting cycles. Drivers are required to lift and coast multiple times per lap. Software systems are overriding driver input, including overtaking decisions. Descriptions within the paddock have included Mario Kart with wings and Formula E hybrid chaos. These statements reflect the operational complexity introduced by the 50-50 electric engine power split, which has created inconsistent power delivery profiles. The FIA has initiated a structured response ahead of the Miami Grand Prix. On April 15th, a sporting meeting was scheduled. On April 16th, a technical session followed. A summit on April 20th involves team principals, FIA leadership, and F1 management. The final vote is expected before Miami. The plan includes a two-step adjustment, immediate software changes, and longer-term tuning measures. No hardware modifications are currently mandated. Two primary solutions have emerged. The first is a radical proposal known as the Cucurella Plan. It reduces maximum electric power from 350 kilowatts to 200 kilowatts and limits harvestable energy per lap from 9 mJ to 6 mJ. This approach removes superclipping entirely and shifts the power balance toward combustion engines. The impact disproportionately affects teams relying on advanced energy deployment, particularly Mercedes. The second proposal, supported by McLaren, increases the superclipping cap. This allows smoother energy harvesting without reducing total power output. The system remains intact, and the benefit is distributed more evenly across teams. The difference between these approaches defines the competitive outcome of the regulatory vote. Ferrari's position is defined by its hardware configuration. The engine uses steel alloy cylinder heads capable of sustaining higher end temperature. The turbocharger is compact, improving response times during acceleration phases. The battery architecture is derived from endurance racing technology, including systems used in Le Mans prototypes. These components are fixed for the season. Software-based regulation changes do not affect these advantages. If energy limits are reduced, Mercedes loses the ability to exploit its software edge fully. Ferrari retains its mechanical strengths, including launch performance and thermal efficiency. This creates a shift in competitive balance without requiring Ferrari to redesign its power unit. For Lewis Hamilton, the implications are direct. His current limitation is starting position, determined by qualifying performance. With reduced gaps, grid positions become closer. Racecraft becomes a determining factor. The regulatory framework also includes the ADUO mechanism. If a power unit is more than 2% behind the leading benchmark after 6 races, a mid-season upgrade is permitted. Ferrari is positioned to qualify for this provision, with an expected timeline around the British Grand Prix. The political dimension is significant. Mercedes does not benefit from regulatory changes that reduce its advantage. Ferrari requires immediate intervention. McLaren supports a balanced solution. The FIA must decide between aggressive and conservative adjustments. The outcome will define the trajectory of the championship. Two scenarios exist. In the first, significant changes are implemented. Mercedes loses its dominant qualifying edge. Ferrari closes the gap. The championship becomes competitive. In the second scenario, minimal changes are adopted. Mercedes retains its advantage. Ferrari continues to recover incrementally. The vote has not yet occurred. The decision depends on the April 20th summit and the final FIA approval process. The timeline is compressed. In the next 6 days, Formula One could completely change.